My name is Linnea Urberg, and I recently defended my thesis, Students' Resistance to Environmental and Sustainability Education here at Örebro University in Sweden. In my thesis, I have two motives, and one of them is democratic, and the other is educational. Because the society are facing major challenges, and schools in Sweden are expected to teach about sustainability and the future. The urgency is also obvious. Yet, teaching on these topics could be extremely challenging when students show disinterest or even resist the teaching. And previous research has often been focusing on young people's engagement, on what is to consider to be good or desirable. My intention was different because I wanted to understand students' resistance and their critique and what meaning it was carrying. I also wanted to understand how teachers respond to this resistance, not trying to correct students, but rather to try to include them in a democratic transition. My thesis also consists of 4 different studies, and the first one is an internet-based analysis of a youth forum. And here me and Johan Öhman use sociological theories of Pierre Bourdieu to trying to understand this resistance. The results indicate that for some groups, sustainable development is something that is experienced to be economically, cultural, and socially conditioned. There's also tensions between what is perceived to be the green privileged and those who feel disadvantaged in a sustainable transformation. My second and my third study, they are ethnographic, and here I followed 58 students in the north of Sweden through observations and interviews. In the second study, Conflict of Interest in Environmental and Sustainability Education, I identified 3 conflict of interest that also shape students' discussion and forms the resistance. Here I could really see a conflict of interest between the periphery and the center, meaning both the symbolic and the geographical distance those students felt from the power, from the capital, and from the political decision-making. And these conflicts often generate the resistance, which I also explore much more deeply in my third study, Resistance, Counterculture, and Environmental Issues. Here I use theories on counterculture, especially from Paul Willis. And this result highlights how 3 forms of resistance often interact with each other. It's a resistance to schooling, it's a resistance to the dominating sustainable development discourse that these students also perceive as oppressive. It's also a resistance to the normative dimension of environmental and sustainability education itself. My fourth study is didactical, and here I together with Asgeir Tryggvason and Johan Öhman identified 3 different strategies, didactic strategies that teachers use to handling resistance. It's a relational strategy, a value-oriented one, and a knowledge-oriented one in case of denial. Here we also explore the concept of a didactic sensitivity that teacher seems to use in case of resistance. Across these studies, I've been showing that resistance exposes a tension in the ideals of the ESE. Because education for environmental and sustainability, it often aims to try to promote a critical thinking and an action competence, but yet this could really be constrained by symbolic, social, and material conditions. Students' resistance, it's often creative, it could be ironic, it could be meaningful, and it may appear as a laugh that could be both liberating, but it could also be deeply serious. And such expression often reflect a double binds many young people experience, where shame and pride in their own life situations are deeply intertwined. Resistance could also be understood as a social critique where young people experiences need to be taken seriously. It's not often a lack of knowledge or motivation, because these students often try to outsmart or reject an educational discourse that they already feel alienated to. If ESE get too distant from this student material and social realities, this could lead to this alienation. There are also possibilities because the didactic contribution of the thesis highlights the importance of trusting the teachers. And I also mean that environmental and sustainability education must acknowledge the limits of resistance, not by trying to remove disagreement or conflict, but rather opening up space for students' experience and for a collective critical reflection. I also suggest that it could be in those fragile moments when resistance and meaningful content and trust are like intersecting, that we could maybe get a glimpse of the boundaries of the pluralism. And maybe we could also challenge it. Perhaps it's also in such moment that teacher and student could maybe together share a laugh, maybe also at the system's expense. Thank you for listening.